Her male best friend ridiculed me right there at the dinner table. She could do so much better than you. I shut him down in front of the entire room. She lost it. Apologize right now or we're finished. I just smiled. I didn't utter another syllable. But weeks later, when she finally came back, she discovered exactly what finished actually means. For 3 years, life with Anna had been good. More than good, exceptional. As a lawyer, my days are spent swimming through the ugliest corners of human behavior. Coming home to her felt like surfacing for air after being underwater too long. She worked as a paralegal, sharp, ambitious, burning to get into law school and carve out her own reputation. I admired that fire in her. We were partners, constructing something real in the house I had poured years into restoring. Felt unbreakable. Genuine. I wasn't simply covering expenses for a girlfriend. I was betting everything on the woman I intended to marry. Yet there was always this faint interference, a quiet crackle in the background that never quite went away. And that crackle had a name. Leo. Leo was her best friend from university. A self-styled graphic designer who insisted on calling himself an artist and treated steady employment like a personal insult. In reality, he slapped together logos for fast casual restaurants just to scrape together rent. According to Anna, he was her rock, her protector, her platonic other half. To me, he was a smug freeloader with an ego the size of a cathedral. And for years he had appointed himself the unofficial saboteur of our relationship. He was masterful at it, I'll give him that. Nothing overt enough to confront directly. Just constant, surgical little jabs wrapped in friendly concern. Her ex, Alex, the failed musician who had wrecked her, was his favorite weapon. If I surprised Anna with a trip to Costa Rica, Leo would casually reminisce about some impulsive weekend road trip he and Anna once took. Those moments can't be scheduled, you know? He'd say with a dreamy look. You have to be with someone who truly understands your soul. Translation. I was the dull, predictable option, and he was the guardian of the wild, authentic life she was supposedly abandoning. And Anna lapped it up. She bought the protective big brother routine completely. Every time I gently suggested he was crossing lines, she'd bristle. That's just Leo being Leo. He was there for me when Alex destroyed me. He's family, Jack. I'm patient by profession. You don't pounce on the first inconsistency in court. You wait, you listen, you let the opposing side bury itself. I waited for Leo to hand me enough rope to hang him with. That moment arrived about 5 weeks ago that I had just closed the largest case of my career. 6 brutal months, 0 life outside the office, weekends that didn't exist. Victory tasted sweet, and it was a massive win for the firm. To celebrate, I hosted a proper dinner party. My inner circle who hadn't seen me in half a year, plus Anna's friends. Because I was still playing the gracious boyfriend, I told her to invite whoever she wanted. Naturally, that meant Leo showed up. The evening was perfect. The house glowed, laughter everywhere. Bottles of wine I'd been cellaring for years finally opened. For the first time in forever, I was relaxed. Leo, of course, treated the place like his personal open bar and started holding court. After a few glasses, he launched into a tedious monologue about some gallery opening that quickly morphed into a lecture on creatives versus suits. Some of us live for passion, for beauty, he said, staring straight at me. Others are just practical. That he let the word hang like an insult, then sipped my 2008 Bordeaux like he'd paid for it. My friends were shooting him death glares. I just smiled thinly and refused to take the bait. But he wasn't finished. He turned to Anna with that practiced look of tender concern. I just want you to be happy, babe, he said, voice syrupy. Jack's great, stable, responsible, all that. He paused, locked eyes with me, and let a slow, triumphant smirk bloom. But let's be honest, you could do way better than him. Silence crashed over the table like a wave. That was the rope, thick, beautiful, gift-wrapped. Every instinct I'd suppressed for years vanished. The polite host was gone. The trial lawyer took the floor, and I set my silverware down with deliberate calm, folded my hands, and looked Leo dead in the eye. "Interesting assertion, Leo," I said, voice low enough that everyone leaned in. "I'd love to hear your reasoning. Since you're the authority on who's good enough for Anna, walk us through it. Be specific. What exactly does better look like in your expert opinion?" He hadn't expected a cross-examination. He'd geared up for shouting, not precision-guided questions. Someone more in tune with her, I guess. Creative. Someone who gets her energy. Got it. I nodded. So the primary qualification is being creative. And I assume you consider yourself the benchmark. He puffed up. I know Anna better than anyone. Perfect, I said pleasantly. Then let's test that benchmark against some objective metrics, shall we? Anna whispered, Jack, please don't. I raised a hand, never breaking eye contact with Leo. Almost done, sweetheart. Let's discuss investment, I continued. As everyone here knows, Anna is in her second year at one of the top law schools in the country. Tuition isn't cheap. I pay it 100%. That's not just money. That's a vote of absolute confidence in her talent and in our future together. I turned back to Leo. So tell me, Leo, as the self-declared superior option, what have you invested in Anna's future lately, besides your ongoing campaign to convince her I'm inadequate? His face drained of color. Moving on, I said. The car she drives, safe, dependable, gets her to campus every day without drama. I bought it. You also have a car, correct? That vintage convertible that seems to need repairs every other month? Anna has floated you the cash for those repairs at least 3 times this year, hasn't she? Cash that came from the joint account I alone fund. So in a way, Leo, I've been subsidizing your cool guy aesthetic too. You're welcome. Someone at the table failed to swallow a laugh. Finally, I said, leaning in, voice almost a whisper. This house, the roof over her head, the walls she paints, the garden she loves. I own it, I maintain it, I pay for every repair. You, on the other hand, have been short on rent so often that Anna has covered you, again with money I earned. So let me make sure the jury understands your position clearly. I spread my hands like I was addressing the bench. You are arguing that a man who provides a secure home, reliable transportation, and a fully funded elite legal education is somehow inferior, and that the superior choice is a grown adult who functions as a walking financial hemorrhage, who repays Anna's generosity by secretly trying to torpedo her relationship because of an obvious, pathetic, and genuinely disturbing obsession with her. Did I summarize that correctly? I sat back. Closing argument delivered. The room was a tomb. Leo looked like he'd been flayed alive. My friends stared at him with open disgust. Then I looked at Anna. Her expression wasn't relief. It wasn't gratitude that someone had finally said the truth out loud. It was rage. Pure, blinding rage directed at me. She shoved her chair back so hard it screeched. I can't believe you just did that, she hissed, trembling. You humiliated him in front of everyone. He humiliated himself, I said wearily. I simply laid out the facts. Apologize, she demanded. Apologize to Leo right now or we are done. And there it was, the verdict she thought she was delivering. That I looked at the woman I had planned to marry standing beside the smoking crater of a man who had spent years trying to steal her, and she was choosing him. Something inside me didn't break. It switched off. That I gave her a small, quiet smile that contained no warmth at all. That I stood, picked up my glass, and walked to the kitchen without another word. Case closed. She stormed out with Leo that same night, convinced I would come begging within days. She had no idea I had accepted her ultimatum at face value. For the next 2 weeks I became unreachable. No calls, no texts, no explanations to mutual friends she dispatched as emissaries. While she waited for apologies that never came, I worked. Every trace of her went into neatly labeled boxes. Clothes, books, the framed photos, the little succulent plants she loved. It wasn't done in anger. It was methodical, final, like closing a file forever. Boxes stacked, locks changed, alarm codes reset. Then I made 2 phone calls. First, to the dean of her law school, an old friend from my alumni board. I explained, calmly and professionally, that due to an irreversible change in personal circumstances, the private scholarship covering Anna's remaining tuition was dissolved, effective immediately. Second, to the managing partner at my firm. The prestigious summer associate position I had personally secured for her, the one that would have launched her career, was rescinded due to an unresolvable conflict of interest. I took no pleasure in it. But every dime, every favor, every plan had been built on the assumption of mutual loyalty. She had demolished that foundation herself. Exactly 14 days after the dinner, she appeared on my doorstep. I watched on the camera as she tried her old key, confusion turning to fury when it didn't work. She rang the bell that I opened the door but left the chain on. She looked wrecked. Makeup smudged, eyes red, the righteous fury long gone. "Jack, we need to talk," she said, voice small. "No, Anna, we really don't. You issued terms. I accepted them. You can't throw away 3 years over one argument. It wasn't an argument. It was a choice. You chose the man who has been poisoning our relationship for years over the man who was building a future with you. You demanded I apologize to him. Choice made." Tears welled up. "But everything we planned, law school, the internship—" "Yes," I said quietly. "Tuition for next semester is due soon, isn't it? I'm afraid that's no longer my concern. And the internship has been withdrawn. Conflict of interest." She staggered like I'd struck her. "You can't. Jack, please." "I already did. You wanted to know what done means. This is what done means. The money stops, the doors close, and the person who was carrying everything walks away. I shut the door. I never saw her again. Word trickles back through friends. She had to withdraw from law school months before graduation. Couldn't cover the tuition. She and Leo are still crammed into his cramped apartment. Apparently it's a pressure cooker of resentment. She blames him for destroying her future. He resents the daily reminder that he finally got the girl but broke her in the process. He won, I suppose. He just can't afford the prize. I didn't do any of it for revenge. I did it because a relationship is a contract, and loyalty is the consideration. She breached it. I enforced the only remedy available, termination with all benefits immediately revoked. She wanted to teach me what over really looked like. Now she knows what it looks like when the builder simply stops building and leaves you standing in the half-finished house you set on fire yourself.